welcome to the wonderful world of dodgy movies. I'm back, folks, with another vampire film this week. Yes, just in case you don't know who I am movie and TV Mistress. This week's vampire film is called Grave of the Vampire, also known as Seed of Terror. It's based on a story by David Chase called The Still Life, and it's from 1972, and it's an American film. So hopefully it could be better than last week's Spanish film. Just a thought. Maybe it's even better than the British film that I watched 2 weeks ago. Let's watch, shall we?
He rose from the deathly silence of the tomb to bathe the world in blood. See Grave of the Vampire. So we fear the gods, demons, devils, bats, banshees. Vampires? Yes, as a matter of fact, vampires. Oh, no!
I'm asking you to have an abortion.
Why?
What's inside your womb isn't a human being.
There's nothing wrong with my baby.
He was conceived in a grave and weaned on human blood. Could he ever deny the horrible evil within himself? He is absolutely evil, cruel, horrifying in his lust for blood. Your blood. See Grave of the Vampire.
Who's Caleb Croft?
You seem very interested in the Croft case, Professor.
Yes, I am, Mr.
Eastman.
Mr. Eastman. If you remain in the class long enough, you too may develop an interest, more than you bargained for.
When you wake, you shall have all the pretty little horses.
The plot of this film is that a rapist and murderer was executed in the 1930s. His name is Caleb Croft. He was buried. One night, he rises from the grave, kills a bloke, rapes the girl, and impregnates her. And runs off. Because, you know, that makes perfect sense. Now, the start of the movie starts in what I'm assuming is like the 1930s, 40 time. It's between 1930s and 1940s. And it's an interesting sort of like crime whodunit sort of story at the start.
So I got up and walked a bit. And then I saw a dead man. Terrible, oh, terrible. And then another man climbing out of an open grave. Got up yelling, screaming. And I looked down in the grave, and there she was, with her dress up and the rest of her body naked. I start running down Lieutenant, yelling and yelling and running until the patrol car picked me up. And I ain't had a drink since.
When you saw the man running, can you remember if the sun had completely risen?
I was so frightened when I saw that dead boy's face, I couldn't think of anything else.
Try to think now.
I don't remember the sun. I only know it was like a grayness when the night is over.
You can go now, Zach. Just check in with us every day for a while.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
That man there was the detective that was investigating it. He was the only person that actually asked questions about why there was no blood in the bodies and was referencing vampires. He's a smart detective. The vampire killed him. Because who wants smart detectives? We then have a crazy lady who's been raped, who has been told by the doctors that what is inside her is not alive and that she should have an abortion. But no, she continues to give birth. And then we get this. She gives birth to a baby that will not drink milk. No, it will only drink blood. So she cuts her breasts and feeds milk to the baby. And then puts blood into bottles. You know, I guess save cutting yourself. And the next thing, the story is then being narrated by her now adult son. So we're now in the 70s at last. William Smith is playing James Eastman. Kind of ironic since he was in a movie with Clint Eastwood. He's all grown up. He's quite buff. And he's pissed. He knows that his dad is a vampire. He's not happy about the fact that basically he was kept alive and brought up by his mum on her blood. And that his dad raped her. That by giving him her blood, he had basically took all her youth from her and, in a way, brought her life to a shorter end because vampire. Though, I will go with this, I think he's more of like an early version of Blade. You know, Wesley Snipes. So, he's a daywalker vampire because he can walk around in daylight. He doesn't have fangs, but I think he's still got an element of vampirism in him. So he goes and joins a night school and decides to enroll in his dad's class. And his dad has now changed his name to Lockwood. And there's a seance.
Acting.
You make a groovy medium, Professor.
It is not I who will be the medium. I was testing your ability to submit to suggestion, as I have tested each one of you. And I have found you to be the most developed of all my students. Now remember, there is nothing to know, and nothing that we are obliged to do, except to join hands and to relax. Relax.
The middle of this movie makes no sense. There's a lot of weird stuff and the classic vampire thing. You remind me of my dead wife. I must have you. I must put my dead wife's soul into you because you look like my dead wife. That classic vampire sort of trope that seems to happen in all vampire movies of the 70s and before. Doesn't happen very often anymore. Generally they're just covered in glitter. I don't get that. Glitter. Why glitter? Anyway, the seance happens and he finally admits he's a vampire. And then there's a fight between James and his dad, the vampire, until the death. But twist ending, folks. By killing his dad, he turns into a vampire. And then he tells his girlfriend to run away. And then it ends. It's actually a really good film. It's reminded me of another film that came out recently that involved feeding a dead baby blood to keep it alive. It's an interesting film. I liked it. At least it kept my attention better than the Spanish film last week. I have really nothing funny to say about it apart from that the acting of the vampire guy is bizarre. William Smith, who I've always seen as a heavy and a bad guy, because he was in Due South as a serial cop killer that was chasing after Leslie Nielsen. That's what I know him for. So I was like, he's a good guy? It follows some of the things that were being introduced into 70 horror films. You know, girls in the shower, somebody outside trying to get in. All those sort of classic tropes that you'll be aware of. There's somebody in the house, the heavy breathing, weird feelings. And then it has the, I must have you, you look like my wife, and I want my wife's soul in you, but he gets the soul of a woman that fancied him instead of his wife inside the girl. Would I recommend this? Actually, yes. I would recommend this film. I would say watch it because you know what? It is bizarre, but in a good way. It's actually got a plot that runs through. It just feels like you're watching two separate movies because of the beginning part and then the other half, so it's a bit weird. But the premise is interesting. Look, I just enjoyed it, okay? I enjoyed some weird American 70s vampire film that wasn't Blackula or Once Bitten with Jim Carrey. You know, I've seen some vampire films that are dodgy. I seem to be watching a lot of them at the moment. I will see you all again next week with another vampire film. So remember, hit that subscribe button, comment down below, give me a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell because that will tell you when I upload, okay? So just remember to hit that little bell down there. And I will see you all again next week for some more dodgy movies. Because I watch so many dodgy films, folks. Bye!
Mine is not the reason why. Mine is just to do or die.